action, taking action, and learning, because I think most of us learn best as we're going through the process. We could sit here and talk about business, or you can read books, which are very good and valuable. You can learn a lot from those, but most of the time, the best learning is getting out and doing, and not being afraid to take that action. But also being smart about it, getting a mentor or getting other people that are ahead of you, have taken that journey, and so hopefully learning from their mistakes, and so you don't have to repeat those. But taking action, and yeah, even if it's just baby steps, but taking that action, I think, is key.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Brock Richards. And Brock is a quick introduction. Has been in Utah his whole life. Was originally grew up in Preston, Idaho, but grew up working on a farm, and also worked at a local grocery store. And then from there started working in the flooring industry. Always wanted to do his own business, and so he started up one with his brother doing a flooring business. Did that for a couple of years, learned a lot about the business side. That business ended up closing, and he went to work for a general contractor for a period of time. Also was working his way out of debt, which happens with plenty of business ventures, and was there for about 4.5 years, and then worked his way up through the business, and then joined another business for a bit of time, a bigger business, and then decided in mid 2022 to start his own business, which is what he's doing today. So with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, Brock.
Yeah, thanks, Devin. Great to be here, and thanks for that introduction. So
hey, absolutely excited to have you on, and looking forward to a great conversation. So with that, I just gave a 30 or 45 second version to a much longer journey. But why don't you tell us a little bit? Why don't we rewind, and you can tell us a little bit about growing up in Preston, Idaho, moving to Utah, and how your journey got started.
Yeah, Preston. For those that don't know, is a really small town. One stoplight type town. It was good. Worked at the local grocery store, and then also moved pipe, and worked on a farm a little bit. We always had a few animals and things, and so I felt like my dad always taught me hard work and things, and he had a flooring business, and so that's kind of where that flooring side ties in, learning that from him growing up. And but yeah, even though had worked for him and things, I'd always kind of eventually wanted to do my own thing. Just didn't know quite, how to go about that. So moved to Utah, and, like you said, Devin, worked in the flooring industry for a long time, eventually went on my own. And
now let me dive in, just maybe ask one question. So you definitely get it. It's a great trade, and it's always even better. Working with family is always bittersweet and has a lot of benefits, and also has a few drawbacks. But you did that with your dad for a period of time, I assume. But maybe to fill in the gap, did you go straight out of high school and work for your dad and start in the flooring industry? Any college, or kind of what was that part of the journey?
Yeah, did go to college. Actually was planning on being a history professor. It's kind of a whole different angle that, didn't end up pursuing, but I love to learn. And what I realized, though, going to school, it's funny, history, they require a ton of English. I had to write tons of huge research papers, which I'm not a huge fan of English, and but I've kind of shifted, and as I've grown older too, I love to learn. I love to read and things. I guess just writing wasn't strong point of mine. I never knew where to put that comma, but
those
so
dang
yeah.
commas and periods and all the other things, the adjectives and the adverbs and all that. It's a whole world in and of itself, of which I try and avoid as much as possible, even though I do plenty of writing as an attorney. But so you came out of college, and then is that at that point, it sounds like that's when you started working with your dad in the flooring industry. Is that right?
So I had I'd gotten about 40 something credits, didn't finish. Had kind of dropped out or shifted to online for a little bit, but for those that are, not disciplined, I guess I eventually just moved full time to working, doing flooring and things in Preston, instead of continuing my education, and thought that was going to be the best route. At this point, I'm newly married. We have a young son, and I'd moved back to Preston. And my dad had gotten out of flooring, so I was doing flooring on my own. But it was residential. I realized quickly, even though I'd grown up in it, I realized it's not what I wanted to do long term. That's when I got a job for a commercial flooring company down here in Utah, and moved the young family down here, and saw that side of things commercially, big office buildings, big projects for University of Utah and the state and things like that. And that actually was a lot more intriguing to me, seeing that, and just not just doing grandma's bathroom flooring, which some people love. For me though, I wanted bigger and grander things to do. So that's kind of how I got in on the commercial side of the industry. And eventually started Elevate Flooring, did that for a couple of years. And
now, and diving maybe into that, so it sounds like you came to Utah, had an opportunity, got into a bit more of the commercial side, did that for a few years, and then I remember, you said that you started the business with your brother, so I assume he was in the flooring business as well, and you guys decided to get together and make a go of it yourself, or kind of what was the motivation or the trigger, kind of what made you decide to go from kind of working for someone else in the corporate world to going into business with your brother?
Yeah, so he had grown up with me, helping our dad and stuff, but he disliked residential flooring a ton, and he had been a part owner in Jimmy John's franchises, had done that for quite a few years, and then ended up selling, and had a little bit of cash, and wanted to start his own thing. Was thinking of industries to go into, and knowing flooring fairly well, came to me and said, hey, what do you think about starting a flooring business? He would bring kind of the business side of things to the partnership, having been running Jimmy John's and things, and so understanding payroll and taxes, and kind of the day-to-day stuff of a business, and then I would bring the industry knowledge and work, working out in the field and actually getting the flooring projects and things like that. So it worked out pretty well, that partnership, as far as him understanding the business side of things, and me understanding the industry a lot more. So that's kind of how that started out. So
no, makes perfect sense. So it sounds like you kind of each brought different skill sets to the table that the other person was lacking, so to speak, and some on the business side, some on the implementation, operation, and skill side. And so you did that, and I think you mentioned you guys did that for a couple of years, and learned a lot about the business, and then ended up having to close that business or go a different way. Is that about right?
Yeah. So we were together for, I don't know if it was about a year and a half. It wasn't quite working out, just profit wise and things. It was, and he had actually started another business about the same time, which, in hindsight, maybe not the best thing to do, just because having capital is is important to, having a business. And if you have two brand new businesses, they, one business is going to eat up capital, let alone two starting. And so we parted ways. I continued Elevate Flooring and things, but it kind of did go back to that capital. I had grown pretty fast, had 13 employees, a couple of flooring crews, and thought that the name of the game was just get as many big projects as possible. And we'll just kind of work our way out of that capital problem. I had actually gotten some high interest, business loans and things, and, where they're taking out payments daily or weekly. And that was the beginning of the end. I thought that I could work my way out of those high interest loans and just get more work and things, but eventually it caught up to us, and we got into, it was over 6 figures in debt, and that payroll, 13, 14, 15,000 every couple weeks adds up really quick. And so yeah, closed up shop and
and I think that makes sense. And I think, it's glamorous as they always see on TV or in the movies or in books or that, not every business goes perfectly. And sometimes, if nothing else, it's a learning experience, or you're going along and you realize the things that, that you didn't know, and, you figure out those. And so, you close up shop. And now, the question, I think, a lot of times is a fear for a lot of entrepreneurs is also, hey, one is I'm going to look like a failure to everybody, and I tried my own business and it's not a success, and always hate that question. Hey, how's the business going? Well, I had to close it up. And then two, it's also, okay, now I've been out on my own. Am I even employable, or what do I do? And so kind of, as you're going through all of that, how did you figure out what was your next step? Or as you're coming off of the closure of the business, where did you go to next?
Yeah, that's kind of a hard spot. Pride comes in, and it's hard to admit that I failed. It didn't work out. And because we kind of glamorize business ownership, and I had 13 employees, and so awesome, but really on the inside, it wasn't a good functioning, well-oiled machine. And so it was the best decision to close up shop. And I had done work for a commercial general contractor, Wasatch West. And I kept having kind of these nudges or feelings that I needed to, go talk to him. And because I was kind of in that transition, I didn't know I'd actually considered maybe going back to school. And, do I, become a doctor or do something kind of way on the opposite end of the spectrum. And, but eventually had the thought to go talk to this commercial general contractor, and who I'd done work with as a subcontractor, and basically talked to him and asked, can I get a job, and willing to do whatever. He started me out at $20 an hour, just being a site superintendent and overseeing projects. And he was a smaller company, but and had done a lot of the project management and site supervision himself. And so he was giving me an opportunity to come on and kind of be under his wing and manage these projects out in the field. So at that point, I was licking my wounds and just needed some cash flow coming in to support my family and things, and was willing to do whatever it took. So it was a good position to be in for me in hindsight, because I was hungry again, willing to learn and soak up everything and do whatever it took, even though I was kind of starting back, at square one again. So
So no, and I think that makes perfect sense, and sounds like it gave you the opportunity to kind of get your feet back under you, kind of get things squared away, catch your breath, and then also probably get maybe a bit of even additional guidance and mentorship. So now as you're kind of doing that, and how long did you just stay with that business or do that position for?
So yeah, I was with them for 4.5 years. So from 2017 to 2021. Um, and that it was an awesome opportunity because, you know, JD, my boss, he had been in business for over a decade and had learned things the hard way as well. But yeah, to your point, he was a great mentor to me to, you know, how to run a business, what's important to keep track of, and basically just be under his wing and be close with him and ask him questions on a daily basis. And just on the business side, let alone, you know, every day also learning on the construction side, you know, having someone to be able to ask questions. And I was soaking everything up. You know, I didn't know a whole lot about general contracting. I had been on the flooring side of things, but commercial general contracting, I, you know, didn't really know, you know, anything about rebar and concrete and, you know, framing and roofing and HVAC systems, electrical. I'd seen it all done to a certain degree, but was able to learn a lot on a daily basis on that side as well, building buildings and projects and things. So it was a great opportunity, great learning. And then, yeah, being paid a really good salary. And so not having that stress, was able to have a good, comfortable life, and also was able to pay off some debt and things from the previous business. So it was a great blessing.
Sounds awesome. So you did that for a few years, caught your breath, got some additional mentorship guidance, and sounds like it was a great opportunity. And then sounds like, maybe putting words in your mouth, but hopefully they're correct, is that you know, that you got, you know, that entrepreneurial bug, wanting to do it yourself or wanting to go your own way and be able to manage. And it's not even anything to do with it. Hey, you can be in a great job and a great position and you just want to do your own thing and be able to kind of captain your own ship. So as you're doing that, sounds like around 2022 you decided to try or go out on your own again and make your own way again.
Yeah, so I was there was one other stop in between that for about 9-10 months. I was really close to going out on my own when I left Wasatch West, but then met a guy and had an opportunity to join a bigger commercial general contracting company, and felt like that was a really good opportunity to be on some big projects and help. It was in their pre-construction and estimating and things, and they worked closely with developers and things. And so I decided to take that opportunity. Was there for a little while, but then just decided, you know, if I'm going to be putting in this effort and you know, doing all this work and putting in long days and hours, I might as well reap the full benefits as well. I was really close to going on my own, you know, 10 months earlier, and then just a few things happened, and I was like, okay, now's the time. So that was, you know, March, April of 2022, and then eventually June of 2022 is when I finally pulled the trigger and started, you know, Mayflower Construction Group. So
Awesome. Well, sounds like it was a good journey, and a lot of along the way gave you the opportunity to learn the skills to hopefully make the business the success as you're jumping back into that. So now you've been doing that. If you did that middle of 2022 and now we're 2023, we've been doing it for 7-8 months now, and give us an idea, you know, how's it gone? Is it jumping back in and all the headaches that you were wanting to avoid or back at it, or you've learned the lessons and it's been going better, or it's kind of a mixture of both, or too early to tell? Or give us an idea as to how the business has been going the last few months.
yeah, overall it's been really, really good. Had some awesome projects get going off the ground. We're doing a medical office building in West Valley, doing a fitness center in Alpine. We've, you know, we're not immune to the problems that sometimes arise. So still learning things on a daily basis. And, some problems have been a little bigger than others. But I think a couple things that I took away from my previous company that we started and also have learned along the way is, going back to capital and cash and cash flow. Before with the flooring company, we signed a lease to a space quickly and $1,400 and then had all that overhead with the payroll and things. This time around, I have a room in my basement. That's my office. It's not as glamorous, but I realized that going out and signing a lease and having a big space, yeah, it's cool to talk about, but really that doesn't pay the bills. That doesn't keep overhead low. So that's been key. And then also being methodical in hiring. I have a part-time person. She helps a lot with subcontracts and general liability and the paperwork side of things, working with our trade partners and suppliers and things. But she's part-time. It works well with her schedule, and also she's very efficient. And so it's been great helping take that load off of me. But I haven't been quick to hire a bunch of people. I'm working a few more hours than ideally I would like to, but I realize in the beginning, until you get things flowing, you do need to put in, some long hours and wearing multiple hats. I'm out in the field. Yeah.
No, and I like the idea, because I think that, and I'm in probably somewhat of at least a similar industry on some points, which is, and as a law firm, I think people often get the idea of, hey, to be a success, we have to have lots of attorneys and lots of overhead, lots of people, and we have to have nice offices and high rises and downtown. And then all you do is you saddle the business with a lot more overhead, a lot more people, and a lot more cost than what it can likely support, or what it even makes sense, even if it can support what makes sense for the best thing for the business. So it sounds like, kind of learned some of the lessons from the first go around, and are working out well as they're or continuing to grow the business the second time. So
Yeah.
with that, so now as we've kind of caught up to the present day of the journey and seeing where things are going a bit, it's a great time to transition to the two questions I always ask at the end of each episode. So we'll jump to those now. So the first question I'd like to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made? What'd you learn from it?
Yeah, probably the worst one was getting those high interest loans and things. It felt or sounded so appealing and good to be able to get a $20,000, $25,000 or $30,000 loan and have that cash sitting in the account, when I had payroll and material suppliers in the flooring business. But the cost of that, what does that money cost? And it was really expensive, huge interest rates on that money, and they don't mess around. They have your bank information, and they're withdrawing those payments, daily. And so kind of opened my eyes to, 20, 30, 50,000, $100,000 used to seem like a lot, but how quickly, if you're not smart with that, you can blow through that amount of money in a blink of an eye. And so just the value of money and the importance of, those numbers, making sure that, that money, it could be really expensive, and so it's not valuable to the business. So that was a huge lesson that I learned.
No, I think that that makes perfect sense. And sometimes it's that allure of the free money, quote unquote, and it's never free. You have to pay it back. And yet at the time, you're like, well, everybody does it, or everybody gets a loan, or this is how a business operates. And you quickly learn that there's a lot of strings attached, and the conventional wisdom of, hey, let's go out and take a loan and we'll be able to make so much money, we'll pay it back, no problem, doesn't always work out, and can oftentimes have the adverse effect on the business. So I think that's definitely an easy mistake to learn, but an easy mistake to make, but a great one to learn from.
Yeah.
Second question now that I ask is, if you talk to someone that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give them?
Yeah, I mean, that's action, taking action and learning, because I think most of us learn best as we're going through the process. We could sit here and talk about business, or you can read books, which are very good and valuable. You can learn a lot from those, but most of the time, the best learning is getting out and doing, and not being afraid to take that action. But also being smart about it, getting a mentor or getting other people that are ahead of you, have taken that journey, and so hopefully learning from their mistakes, and so you don't have to repeat those. But taking action, and yeah, even if it's just baby steps, but taking that action, I think, is key.
Oh, and I like that, because I think that sometimes people take it to the extreme of, hey, I'm never going to go get any learning. Best learning is just by doing, and they never or try and get that education, and that sets you up for failure, and vice versa. Say, hey, I'm just going to go get a whole bunch of degrees, but I'm never going to learn along the way, and then I think that also can set you up for failure. So I think that going out and doing it while continuing to learn, and whether that's schooling, whether that's mentorship, whether that's reading or podcasts, or however you choose it, whichever way that works for you, always having that learning and doing mentality at the same time is a great approach. So
Yep.
well, now as we wrap up the episode, as people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. Brock Richards there. Also, you can go to our website, mayflowercg.com. But yeah, my contact info is on my LinkedIn page, and that's Mayflower Construction Group as well. Relationships have been huge. That's how we met Devin, and on LinkedIn, and a great way to interact with people, and find people who are in the same industries, maybe have the same likes and desires that you do. So appreciate you having me on, and it's been great getting to know you too. So
Absolutely. Well, I think that's definitely a great piece of advice, great takeaways, and a great way to connect up with you to find out more, and definitely encourage people to do so. And if nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you, the listeners that are out there, you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be guests on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveguest.com, apply to be on the show. A couple more things as listeners. Make sure to click share, subscribe, and leave us a review. Helps us to make sure we can share this podcast with even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And last but not least, if you ever need help with your patents or trademarks or anything else along your journey to success with your startup or small business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Brock, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Great. Thanks, Devin.